And now we move ahead with our first panel discussion of the session. On the topic of residential real estate, the now, the new, the next. The session is being moderated by Ms. Manisha Natarajan, anchor and editor of the property show NDTV India. Ms. Natarajan is India's foremost editorial voice on real estate and urban development, with a career spanning over 20 plus years, and she has anchored and has been the editor of the property show on NDTV, the senior advisor for content, communication and editorial at India Sotheby's International Realty. We also have today the honor of having Mr. Baman Irani, Chairman and Managing Director, Rustomjee Global City, a first-generation real estate developer and an entrepreneur with over 24 years of experience and knowledge of the industry. Mr. Irani is the Chairman and Managing Director of Rustomjee Group, and it was founded in 1996. The Rustomjee Group has now evolved to become one of the most sought-after and respected real estate companies in Mumbai. Under his leadership and guidance, Rustomjee has earned the distinction of a respected corporate and a well-known brand in an extremely short period of time.
That picture of Bowman is when he was in school.
We also have with us Mr. Murli, who's the Chairman and Managing Director of Shriram Properties, an alumnus of Harvard Business School. Mr. Murli is a first-generation entrepreneur and founded the property development arm of US dollars 10 billion plus business conglomerate Shriram Group. In 1997, with a small capital of 0.5 million USD, and has made the business size to 3.5 billion USD today. The unique credit Mr. Murli holds is that he has only institutional investors like Tata Capital, TPG, Starwood Capital, Walton Street, Mitsubishi as his partners. Today, we also have with us Mr. Pradeep Agarwal, Chairman and co-founder Signature Global, and Chairman, ASSOCHAM, National Council on Real Estate, Housing and Urban Development. Mr. Pradeep Agarwal comes with a rich experience of around 2 decades in the financial capital market and commodity market. His in-depth knowledge of the securities market and financial services led him to diversify the arbitrage business. With a keen desire to do more, he ventured into the real estate business under the brand name Signature Global, focusing on affordable housing, which is key to the growth of housing in India. With a grand vision and mission of Har Parivar Ek Ghar, house for every family, he has been contributing significantly to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi's flagship mission of housing for all by 2022. We also have with us Mr. Venkatesh Gopalakrishna, Chief Executive Officer of Shapoorji Pallonji, Joyville. Mr. Gopalakrishna comes with over 26 years of versatile work experience across the real estate and infrastructure industry. During his period, he has worked on various aspects of the industry, including fundraising and investments. Prior to joining Shapoorji Pallonji Real Estate, he was the Managing Director and Country Head of Westport Capital Partners, Mumbai. And of course, we will be joined by Mr. Anush Puri for this session for the discussion on the topic of residential real estate, the now, the new, the next. So now I would like to request Ms. Manisha Natarajan to take ahead the session, please.
Thank you, Pushkar. Can everybody hear me clearly?
Absolutely, yes. Manisha. Loud and clear.
All right, great.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. And of course, that report was very insightful, which was presented on consumer confidence. So I'm there is really no secret left that this is an excellent time to be talking about real estate. We just had Rakesh Jhunjhunwala pronounce his optimism. We've had big economists like Ruchir Sharma saying, at the start of 2020, when all of us were staring at a very bleak outlook that, the next couple of years are going to be for India's real estate, especially residential. We have market gurus like Nilesh Shah who are saying that there has been no better time for housing cycle of India and to own real estate stocks. And sure enough, the realty index has climbed up 50%, leaving Nifty and Sensex gains far behind. New launches, ANAROCK report says, have increased by 70% across 7 top cities, and sales have grown by 50 to 60%. So, it seems like, oh my God, there's so many buzzing headlines. It has to be a fantastic time. But I know that, this euphoria which has come in the larger population might be new, but our developers have remained perennially optimistic through demonetization, through falling sales, through terribly disturbing times of, approval delays to RERA coming in, because if they hadn't done that, they wouldn't be in the business. So I've also seen that you need a ton of optimism to do this business. So let me get to my guests, and Pawan, let me start with you. How would you define 2020, 2021? I would say about 16 to 18 months. We are packaging it together because it has been a life-changing experience for everyone. For your business, what have been the big trends?
So, Manisha, I think you said it very well. These have been changing times, right? And everything as we know it has been flipped on its head. We went from a pretty easy, good time to something called the pandemic, and everybody hit panic buttons and things were just going all over the place. Everybody was, only talking of doomsday. But, this doomsday changed the way the customer started looking at what his priorities in life were. And everybody who was earlier investing only in the stock markets or putting their money in gold for safety decided they need to have an asset that they could enjoy. And today, as we know, people are, one of the first things that people want to do is buy a good home for their family. They want safety, they want security, but more than that, they want the lifestyle. They want everything that everybody else has, and in their price range. And we are seeing a huge upsurge of people who are looking at lifestyle layouts, who are looking at great amenities in homes, who are looking at basically a proper home where quality is assured. So there's a big shift from trying to buy the cheapest to trying to buy what is the best in their budget type. And given the fact that all data is now absolutely transparently available and developers are answerable to a higher power called RERA, I think is making home buying a lot easier. And I think this is one of the key reasons that the shift to buying homes has also increased that many fold, because the stress or the worry in the minds of the home purchasers has gone tremendously low. I think, like the big bull said, he has seen this as one of the best times, and he's hoping that, or he's saying that the next few years are going to be a great run for real estate. I would say that probably the best time to buy a home now and buy a good home now is what even the consumers are saying. We see a great run ahead, Manisha.
All right. So, well, that's an optimistic developer.
Be positive blood group.
No, but I mean, every bit of what you've said, Baman, has been quite evident. And the sales are also showing the same. I mean, it's not just in India. In fact, millennials across the globe are buying real estate like, never before. And that entire feeling that we are an Uber, Ola sort of economy, and therefore we will not buy, we will live in shared places, has gone out of the window, I think, for millennials and younger population. Murli is smiling. He's finally taken the company IPO.
Yes, and Manisha, his profile needs to be updated.
I know.
Yes, there are two mistakes I saw. One is they talked about Boman as first generation real estate entrepreneur, but they forgot to tell us that he's giving us SG gift.
To everybody who's part of the panel, great. I'm looking forward to that.
Everybody right.
Murli, how was the experience of listing? Then by the time you listed, the markets went into a jitter. So the stock prices were a little not that exciting in the beginning for you. But take us through the experience of, wanting to list. I know that you've been wanting to list for at least 4 years, and finally you debuted in 2021. But just sum up the last 18 months for your business, because you've had one of the most exciting landmark happenings.
And Manisha, you've also got two of the panelists here who are going to be following his footsteps very soon.
I know, I heard that. Okay, let's hear.
This has been a great experience for us to go through this process of listing. It's like a labor pain, which all the men here have not experienced. Probably, if at all one needs to go through the labor pain experience, they need to look at listing process. So, but always it gives a joy when the child is delivered. So, when the child is growing, it's just not, one off. So, just the child is born now, a long way to go. So it's not a 2020 match. So it's a marathon. We started enjoying this game now. So it is going to be something phenomenal. Hence, our focus is just not delivery part. Yes, we need to go through the pain. We just delivered the baby. Now we need to look at how the baby, can be grown into a great adult or greatest human being. That's where our focus. Our focus is on the business today. How we can focus on next 8 to 12 quarters consistently delivered. As you have seen results now, Q3 we just announced the day before yesterday. So we had a good turnaround of Q3. Fantastic results. Markets, gave 3 cheers. So we are looking at amazing growth for the full year also. So business per se looking very, very optimistic. We are bullish. Last 18 months time we have done a good business, but capital market is different. So on real estate per se, the basics are too good, and the demand has been something phenomenal. In fact, you talked about Uber economy or Uberized way of doing business. I think all that is not fit for India. COVID has cemented the whole thing. When people were looking at about 18 months ago or 24 months ago before COVID, we did a survey. The survey revealed to us the 20s or early 30s kids, they do not want to own a home. They wanted to live in a rented home, and they did not have even thought process to buy a home for 20 years. So there was a surprising one for us. We also thought, should we change our model and look at some rental housing, long-term rental housing and all that. When we are looking at COVID hit, so first 3-4 months time, nobody had any clue other than clapping whatever was needed. But beyond that, there was no clue. Suddenly, sometime in September, October, there was a big shift which has happened. There is a big push for the demand, particularly for the larger size units. So people wanted to come back and own a home. That made a big shift. A lot of people who were stuck with the unsold inventory, I think that first COVID, October to March, they all finished all their inventory. There was a big shift. Now the demand is continuing further, which means people have gone back to their basics. See, always Indians had the comfort of owning a home and investing onto the gold. So I don't know much about stock market, whether their interest, their interest is. But these two were the basics they always looked at. They come back to the basics. So COVID has brought people to their basics, brought back to appreciating the family values, brought them back to owning asset, brought them back to owning a larger asset. So this is likely to continue. There are a few other things also along with housing loan.
Murli, let's talk about what is going to happen. I have the next to ask you. So let's just focus on the now for the moment. And I'm so happy to hear that excitement in your voice. You've always been a very passionate speaker. And of course, now, with a listed company, like you said, your baby has to grow up to a good human being, which is exactly what Mr. Jhunjhunwala said, that you have to focus on the process, deliver a good product, and don't overpromise. That's a good human being, right? Okay, shall I go to Pradeep ji?
Yes.
The person who is
Manisha,
now getting ready to go IPO. Pradeep ji, 3 mahine, 4 mahine, when are you coming? आप बता दीजिए, कुछ तो टाइम भी दे दीजिए ब्रेकिंग न्यूज.
आई थिंक सो अभी कमेंट करना बड़ा मुश्किल है उसके ऊपर, लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि हाँ, जब होंगे तो सबसे पहले आप ही के पास होंगे कि ऐसा कुछ होने वाला है. सो या
गो अहेड सर.
सो जो ऑपरेशन है इस टाइम मुझे लगता है वो एयर में साफ आपको नजर आ रहा है. वो बिल्कुल आप स्माइलिंग फेस देख सकते हैं, यानी बातचीत देख सकते हैं. जो भी लास्ट जो पैनलिस्ट थे उनका एक ही फोकस है इस वक्त, अगर इंडिया को ग्रोथ करना है तो हर परिवार को एक घर देना पड़ेगा. इट मींस अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग. और अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग की नीड क्यों है? क्योंकि आप इतनी जॉब्स की बात कर रहे हैं कि अगले 5 साल में केवल आईटी सेक्टर से लगभग 45 लाख जॉब आनी है. तो उन लोगों के लिए घर कहां से बनेंगे? क्योंकि उनका जो टिकट साइज है मुझे लगता है वो एक कहीं ना कहीं अफोर्डेबल रेंज में ही है, जहां आप 45 लाख से लेके 75 लाख के बीच में बात करें. तो उसके लिए जो डेवलपर्स की नीड है वो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग बेस्ड है. और आज आप देखिए जितनी भी गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसीज है वो सराउंडिंग द अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग चल रही है। पूरा का पूरा बजट आप देखिए तो पूरा बजट यानी रियल एस्टेट वर्ड भी वहां पर नहीं बोला गया। अगर एक ही लाइन रहा तो केवल कि प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना के लिए 48,000 करोड़ रुपीस उन्होंने सैंक्शन किए। सो जो गवर्नमेंट का माइंडसेट है वो बिल्कुल क्लियर है, जो बॉटम ऑफ द पिरामिड है उसको फिल किया जाए। उन लोगों को एक तो जब क्योंकि वो अपने घरों में रहेंगे तो हाइजीन क्रिएट होगा, तो उससे आज जो अनरेगुलाइज कॉलोनीज बन रही है उनके ऊपर कहीं ना कहीं वो एक कट डाउन होगा। और दूसरा, जब आप कॉमन मैन की लाइफ को एनहांस करते हैं तो ऑफ कोर्स एक पूरा का पूरा जो इकोसिस्टम है वो रन करने लगता है। अच्छा, दूसरा अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग, क्योंकि इतनी बड़ी मास हाउसिंग है, अगर वो बनती है तो पूरे जो जीडीपी की हम बात कर रहे हैं उसके अंदर सबसे बड़ा जो की ड्राइवर रहने वाला है वो भी अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग रहेगा। रीजन क्या है कि लगभग 62 के नियर अबाउट इंडस्ट्री है जो एमएसएमई है, जो डायरेक्टली इनडायरेक्टली उसके अंदर रहती हैं। एंड टॉप से लेके बॉटम तक की अगर हम बात करें जॉब्स की, इवन लेबर की भी, तो वो एक बहुत बड़ा नंबर है। तो मुझे लगता है कि ऑफ कोर्स मैं, क्योंकि मेरा एक बायसनेस रहेगी अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग को लेके, लेकिन मुझे लगता है ये वाला जो डिकेट है, ये डिकेट का जो ड्राइवर रहने वाला है वो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग रहने वाला है। इट्स माय व्यू।
प्रदीप जी, आपको ये भी बताना चाहिए किस तरह से अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग को और बढ़ाया जा सकता है टैक्स, क्या बोलते हैं, टैक्स लॉज में चेंज आने के द्वारा। वो बाद में बताइए, मैं तो मैं आपको अलग से भी फोन करता हूँ।
वेलकम।
Let's get Venkatesh in as well. Venkatesh, you're all in a similar segment, if not an identical segment to what Pradeep ji is working in Joyville as a brand, but just that, some of the markets you are in where affordable definition itself is 75 lakhs and above. You cannot create affordable housing stock in what Pradeep ji is creating at 35, 45 lakhs in Gurgaon. But take it from here. How has it been? I mean, the ANAROCK presentation actually showed that there's been a little bit of a shrinkage in the pie for affordable housing, and luxury seems to have come back with that need for one extra room that every family has felt. But Venkatesh, your own experience with your business, is that market also shifting more and more towards, large players and branded players such as yours?
Thank you, Manisha. So I think two things. One is affordability has improved. If you actually look at it in 2014, your EMI to income was nearly 50%. What has happened is the interest rates have fallen, incomes have gone up, and today your EMI to income is 30%. I think that's a very important statistic to see what is pushing the demand. Second is the need for buying a house. My fellow panelists have also said is going up. Basically emotionally. So where we saw it, Manisha, is that after the first wave, there was a huge rebound for us, especially in the cities of Pune, Gurugram, Virar. But also, we do affordable housing. We're building 20,000 homes in Calcutta. We're also building some of the tall towers in South Mumbai. And surprise was that after the first wave, that also saw a very good uptake. So it's slightly kind of confusing. Second wave, after second wave also we saw a bit of uptick. Of course, now the third wave is still going on. But generally speaking, Joyville is in middle income housing. It's from 50 lakhs to 1 crore. The space where Signature Global is operating is a very difficult space, and hats off to them to do so well in that space. We've learned the hard way in Calcutta, but we took the balance of trying to address the sweet spot in demand as well as margins. I think our view is that this is going to continue for the next 3 to 5 years in terms of demand. There will be pressure on pricing. I think price usually doesn't increase more than 3, 4, 5%. I think that's the statistic which we have seen over the last 8, 10 years. We just have to be careful. A word of caution is on the cost side. The raw material prices have also gone up in the last 1 year. Hopefully, if that tempers out, I think both from a demand and a margin side, all of us are going to have a much better time than what we had.
All right. Okay, now I always keep Anuj for a special position, which is at a place where I'm thinking, okay, now how do I take the conversation forward? And Anuj definitely gives me some really solid points. But Anuj, you've listened to or heard out all our panelists. So great time for everybody, right? Maman is also kind of captured why the demand has returned and times are looking so good. Give us a deeper sense of what else worked for the sector during the pandemic. I mean, affordability, return for home as a space which is safe. What else, which we might have missed out in the conversation for now?
Well, first of all, thanks, Manisha. It's absolutely a delight. Thanks for moderating this panel. You get in the best out of these speakers. So I appreciate you taking out the time. Second is, I'll cover both the points that you said. Is that one is really what was more as a demand that brought in people to come and buy. And second is perhaps, Manisha, what could be a little bit of a party pooper. Where can party have some trouble going forward? So I think what really brought out the demand, apart from low home loan rates, apart from social security, was the increasing affordability that people had during this period of time. Also, Manisha, the work from home, kids schooling from home, particularly in Bombay. In the luxury sector, we saw joint families who were living in older buildings together. They would only sort of spend 8-10 hours a day at the most. Now they're spending 24/7. The common facilities in that building, they weren't, because these were older buildings. They would go to CCI, Breach Candy, Wellington Club. Clubs were closed. And they were sort of joint families were seeing each other all the time. They wanted bigger, better apartments. Stock market's doing very well. Wealth was created out of the stock markets. We got a lot of people, very cleverly saying is that I do want to cash out. So I want to sort of make this paper money into hard asset money. Many apartments which were completed and unsold were being offered by the developers at that time at very economical terms. And hence there was an attraction to be able to move into a bigger, better apartment. People upgraded it, moved into better infrastructure, better security, more open spaces, sort of more people wanted balconies in their homes. People moved to the periphery of the city. They were not going to work every day of the week into the office, even after the pandemic. The thought was very clear. Plotted sold very well, villa development sold very well, second homes across the board sold very well. So that propagated the demand, which is sort of similar to what we have seen internationally as well.
Yes. This is a good time, Anuj, when, we also seem to be dovetailing the international sentiments in literally all segments of housing. That's something that we saw. But coming back to what you said a little bit about the worries, right? Everybody is really optimistic, and I hope and pray to God that it stays so, because forget about joint families. I mean, my hubby and I, we realized that in 28 years of our marriage survived because we had only lived together for 14. He was traveling and I was traveling for the rest of the 14. And when we lived together for those 6 months, even our 3,000 square feet apartment in Delhi seemed very small. So not just joint families, even nuclear families were looking for a bigger home. But coming back to now, there are already, I can sense some jitters. This is the problem with the global economy, right? You open the morning, any digital website, and you can see, oh my God, the Fed is going to raise rates 7 times. From 4, it's already gone up to 7. And FPIs are selling the Indian market and just all of those things. I mean, emotions and sentiments don't take too long to turn around as well, right? So give me both. Are these fears unfounded because home is a very different kind of an asset class? Or do you think there are some headwinds as a next that one needs to be careful of?
I think on the emotion and sentiment, Manisha, it will be the home loan rates. They're bound to go up at some stage, in near or midterm. They are bound to go up. As you rightly said, Fed is going to tighten the rates. At some stage, the RBI will, very nicely. They haven't yet done it. And they've said we'll be able to handle the inflation. But at some stage, they will, increase the home loan rates. I am less fearful on the financial impact of the increase in the home loan rates. I'm more fearful of the sentiment that it dampens. In the past also, it dampens that sentiment. What I am more fearful is the increase in the input prices, because the developers really don't have ability to absorb any more increase in the input prices. I mean, if you look at the balance sheets, as it is, they're very thin margin. And, Mr. Junjunwala also said is the return on capital employed isn't really sufficient for him to get very attracted into the real estate sector if it gets onto the development. And hence they will have to pass it on to the consumer. Now, in a consumer survey report, up to 10%, they're okay. The consumer is okay because last 5-6 years, prices haven't gone up. 10%, I'm okay to absorb because my salary went up. But beyond that, if this goes on, we know that there is no cushion left with the developer. They will have to pass it on because they're already at single-digit profit percentage margin. And so once they start to pass it on and this continues to go, can it breach the affordability? I hope not. I hope not. I hope there is more sponge on the side of the home buyer that they can absorb increasing cost. But that's the only thing. And the second one, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala said this afternoon, that if there is something happens to the Indian economy, I mean, if something happens to the Indian economy, then everything is in a problem. Real estate is only one small segment of that. But on the real estate, I don't see anything else. Because in terms of, if you look at regulation, compliance, consolidation, discipline, both governance and financial, delivery, Baman mentioned on RERA, ethics, all that to me, Manisha, is more or less sorted out. I mean, there will be 1 or 2 students in the class, who will be naughty and, will continue to get punished, but they are not the guys who define what that class's DNA is. I think this DNA has become quite straightforward and it's pretty much industry now. The only fear that I have is if the prices disproportionately go up, not because of the greed of the developers. I think this time they've been very judicious. I think it is just that the rising input cost, they have no buffer to absorb it. That's my only fear, is that they will have to pass it on to the consumer.
Bhaman, do you fear that? I mean, if both these things happen in the next 6 months, which is like inflation continues to rage, so what I'm hearing is that the commodity cycle is pretty much at the top end, right? So we are not going to see much of commodity prices going up, but who knows? Looking at the geopolitical situation, the Ukraine situation, I mean, anything is possible. But that and in home loan rates changing, could that? I mean, are you building that in your business plans? That's my big question to you and everybody
so Manisha,
else.
when I got into this business, we had cycles of 5 years, and then people said every 5 years there'd be an up and a down. Then those went down to 2-3 years, and then I think now one has to be ready for whatever comes your way, right? I mean, the pandemic has shown us that. And then look at from 2017, RERA, GST, etc., etc. So developers are pretty resilient to it. I would say we would still make some mistakes, but given the broad spread that most of the developers have nowadays, they're pretty well balanced. Every developer is kind of pegging his bets against so many different types of development and is in various stages of development, various stages of sale. Some old maxims one should adhere to, sell as you build, cut your risk as you go along, let your customer, make an upside, let there be enthusiasm built for the project as prices go up. I would say that the home loan rates, I think Anuj is bang on. It has a sentimental issue, not really going to be a major cut out of the pocket. But of course, Anuj will say more about that. The rising prices, Anuj, sometimes actually brings out a quickening of the buyer's decision making, right? Because he says now things is like the stock market. When prices start going up, that's when people actually start buying, not when they're coming down. So I don't know. At some point, there will be a change and it'll go down. But initially, with the prices going up, I think the buyer interest will increase. And Manisha, Anuj is bang on when he says that the developers are not lining their pockets with a bigger profit. They're actually just covering for cost and therefore passing it on. That's why my question to Mr. Agarwal also earlier was, how do you keep into that affordable? Because there a minor modification in the prices of commodities or compliance costs or etc. would lead to a major shift in what his affordability of his client is. But I'm sure he's got that model cracked. We on our part at Rustomji, I can tell you this, are keeping our eyes open and keeping our ears to the ground and reading reports that Anuj and the team bring up. The point that we are seeing is there is a good buy base for Mumbai. Mumbai, again, with the government's intervention, has done phenomenally well to bring down the premiums that we've paid in the last 1 year. The government of, the Mumbai ULB, that's DMC, has collected 14,000 crores. That itself says that a whole host of developments have become viable as of right now. I'm pretty confident that the Mumbai market is in steady waters for now, unless there's a world event like Ukraine or anything else that we don't know. Yeah.
Well, that'll affect everybody. Pradeep ji, आप लीजिए वो सवाल. अगर
So I think
बदलते हैं और इनपुट प्राइसेस कुछ ज्यादा जाते हैं तो आपके मार्जिन्स मतलब सबसे ज्यादा जो है कम रूम आपके मार्जिन्स में है, तो कैसे आप उसको मैनेज करेंगे?
राइट, आई थिंक सो. देखिए, अगर इंटरेस्ट रेट चेंज होता है तो ऑफ कोर्स, क्योंकि अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग है तो जो कंज्यूमर है वो EMI बेस्ड है मोस्टली, सो उसको एक इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है. तो मुझे लगता है कि थोड़ा सा तो ऑब्जर्व हो सकता है. अगर कुछ 1 से 1.5% तक का भी राइज होता है तो इतना तो ऑब्जर्व कर सकते हैं. इससे ज्यादा शायद मुझे लगता है थोड़ा सा मुश्किल होगा.
1 से 1.5 ज्यादा तो नहीं होगा प्रदीप जी. आई डोंट
तो बस आई थिंक सो इतना
हो
ऑब्जर्व हो सकता है मार्केट के अंदर. इतना अंडरवेव से पता चल रहा है. दूसरा, बिल्कुल बमन ने राइट कहा कि अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग में क्योंकि अगर प्राइजेस क्योंकि इंक्रीज करने की एक लिमिटेशन है, और अगर जो रॉ मटेरियल्स है उनकी कॉस्ट लगातार इंक्रीज होती जाती है तो वो चैलेंज बन जाएगा. लेकिन वहां पर अभी अगर आप कॉस्ट की बात करें तो मुझे लगता है पिछले 5 से 7 साल में जो प्राइसेस हैं रियल एस्टेट के बहुत ज्यादा बढ़ नहीं पाए. आप किसी भी इंडस्ट्री की बात करें तो 5 से 7 साल में वो इंडस्ट्री ऑलमोस्ट डबल पे ट्रेड करती है. आप 2015 में जिस रेट के ऊपर ट्रेड कर रहे थे, आज 2021-22 में भी ऑलमोस्ट उसके 10% ऊपर नीचे पे अभी भी लोगों को घर दे रहे हैं. तो इट्स नॉट प्रैक्टिकल कि आज अगर वहां पर कुछ प्राइस राइज भी होगा तो बहुत इजीली वो उसे ले सकते हैं, क्योंकि आप किसी भी इंडस्ट्री में जाएं. मुझे नहीं लगता कि जो शेयर मार्केट की बात करें, 2014 में शेयर मार्केट का 7,000 का प्राइस था, आज 18,000 पे ट्रेड कर रही है. तो कैसे पॉसिबल है कि आप रियल एस्टेट को सोचे कि 2015 का रेट 2022 में उन्हें मिले, और टचवुड उन्हें मिल रहा है कहीं ना कहीं 10-5% ऊपर नीचे मिल रहा है. तो मुझे लगता है अभी थोड़ा है यहाँ पर क्वेश्चन. अगर प्राइस यहाँ से 10 से 15% राइज भी होंगे तो बहुत इजीली लोग ले लेंगे, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं सैलरीज भी इंक्रीज हुई है. तो आई थिंक मैं अभी इस चीज को लेके बहुत ज्यादा नेगेटिव नहीं हूं. हाँ, लेकिन इतना जरूर है कि ज्यादा अगर प्राइस राइज हुआ तो अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग जरूर उससे पिंच होगा, इतना जरूर श्योर है.
चलिए नेक्स्ट पे चलते हैं. अब तो ये हमने काफी चर्चा कर ली. We've spoken a lot about price rises. Murli, you want to take us, because you had started speaking about it. I said, hey, hold on, let me come to you with the next. So what's next for Shriram Properties? What are the cities that you are hopeful that will outperform? Would you continue to be in your core markets of South, or are there other geographies that you will look at? Because now you've got the pressure of growth, right? Quarter on quarter, analysts are going to come and say, so what is our company planning to do in next quarter? Where is our company planning to launch? Sometimes I wonder why analysts, when they're questioning you, make it our company. But go ahead.
Our focus has been all along in South India and Calcutta market. We have been doing about 3.5 million square foot last 3 years average. So this year we should hit close to 4 million square feet, FY22. And in 23-24, we are looking at 4 to 5, 5 to 6.5. That's the pipeline we have, for which we have fully cooked up pipeline projects in the markets where we operate. Having said that, we are looking at expanding into Hyderabad and Pune shortly. That's where we are looking at. Again, we'll continue to focus on mid-market and affordable housing segment. That's where our focus will continue. And current focus of scaling, which will give us a huge advantage. So, 30% growth CAGR for the next 3 years' time, which will be one of the fastest growing companies in the country. So that will be the big advantage we would like to catch upon. Our focus will be delivery, nothing else at this point of time. And we will not look at something heroic today, but steady growth of 30% year on year is what will be the focus.
Good human being, no heroes. We want that only in real estate. Seriously.
And our company is in safe hands.
Venkatesh, what's next for you? What are the new areas? I mean, this is a year where I actually got a call from this very interesting company which does non-urban homes. and they were so excited about vacation homes and non-urban homes. I'm just thinking that just the opportunities between student housing, co-living, there's just a whole burst of new areas which have opened for you, and probably makes sense to balance out and de-risk your portfolio. So give me some thoughts.
No, I agree, Manisha. I think so. The bread and butter will always remain the homes we sell in Mumbai, Pune, Gurgaon, Calcutta, and Bangalore. But the non-urban homes or the second homes which you were talking about, if you actually look at the last 12 to 15 months, there's been quite a bit of traction across the industry. So I think we have a lot of land bank between Mumbai and Pune, which we will look to monetize through plotted development, second homes. That's one plan. Student housing actually is quite a niche business. It will take some time to scale up for the concept to catch up over here. But we will focus on plotted development. Industrials and warehousing is another thing which we are quite interested in. We're talking to some sovereign funds, etc., to tie up a pan-India platform. So I think these are the things which we would kind of focus on in the next 3 to 5 years, apart from a big land bank which we have on the housing side.
And Venkatesh, what is your IPO plan? 2022?
No, I think we very low profile company. Anuj is smiling.
Which is the other company that Anuj was talking about then? I'm just wondering. He said 2 in the panel.
No. So I think we have Joyville Chapurji, our middle income housing company, which has got World Bank and the ADB and Actis. So there, it's kind of stabilized. It's getting about 1,500 crores of collections each year. So maybe over there, we might think of some thought process. But I think in Chapurji Palinji real estate, we got huge land banks still to get to a monetization stage. Very huge land bank. So it's a few years away.
All right. Okay. Pradeep ji, आप निकलेंगे गुड़गांव से कहीं और?
Yes, देखिए दिल्ली एनसीआर केवल इतना बड़ा एरिया है, अगर यहाँ पर अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग बनाने लग जाएं तो मुझे लगता है अगले 1 डिकेड तक तो कम से कम कहीं जाने की नीड नहीं है. एंड कंपनी फोकस इज वेरी क्लियर. जो भी काम करना है अभी दिल्ली एनसीआर में करना है, क्योंकि यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा जरूरत है. वहां पे बहुत सारे डेवलपर्स है अदर एरियाज में बनाने के लिए. आई थिंक इट्स वेरी क्लियर. इट्स दिल्ली एनसीआर ओनली.
Delhi NCR for you. All right. Anuj, what do you see? I mean, how do you think that top developers will manage their portfolios? Top 10, 15 are pretty much going with office and resi as 2 strong pillars of their businesses. And then, of course, everything else is little peripheral. Like warehousing makes sense for them. They have a land parcel and a good opportunity. They'll go there. They might look at data centers. But pretty much, I think 90% of their portfolios are divided between resi and office, and their resi being about 70 and whatever, depending on what their nature is. Some, of course, have more office. But do you see any new opportunities which they should seize upon?
So Manisha, all the other opportunities, as Venki said, is that are on the periphery. So, you have data centers, you have co-living, you have co-working, you have senior living, you covered student housing, but they are really, the volumes aren't anything which is meaningful. They're all very nice, very fancy words, meaningful businesses in their own right. But at the scale, when you look at the office, and the values you look at on the residential, when you put these two together, then whether it's warehousing, industrial, data centers, senior living, student housing, co-working, co-living, all of them aren't as significant, including for that matter, hospitality and retail as well. And that's why, most of our discussions veer towards residential and commercial. What is interesting, as you rightly said, is, commercial got sort of consolidated post the global financial crisis. And I think now residential is getting consolidated post, what we are seeing COVID. So on the other side, as we, this becomes endemic from a pandemic, we're seeing majority of that consolidation has taken place. The sort of weaker developers have got consolidated by the stronger developers. The good thing is, Manisha, that usually when somebody gets consolidated, they're not happy. This time, the outgoing player is going with a smile. And then the reason that they're going out with a smile is because they are in their mind are becoming a land manufacturer. That I am a land manufacturer for Baman or for Pradeep ji or for Murli or Venki, and I'll make a ton of money. I'll probably make more money than they make.
Well said.
So they are going with a smile out of this and saying, let them do the hard work and let them become the developer. I am a land manufacturer. They are a developer in their mind is. So that's where I feel is that consolidation has taken place in residential. In commercial, it had already taken place. Retail, it had already taken place post the GFC. So they had been consolidated for about 12, 13 years ago. We have just got consolidated on the residential space now, and now the party is sort of starting to emerge.
Baman, what's happening in luxury? I mean, I know that it's been a phenomenal year, but it's also come on the back of terrible 3-4 years preceding that, right? Do you think that sentiment will continue and the demand will continue? Because luxury is again such a thin sliver as an overall market. And I'm talking about really the 2 crore plus homes, not everything under that, according to me, is just bracketed as premium. And maybe Mumbai even 3-4.
Yeah, so we usually term 1 crore to 3 crores as aspirational only. Luxury actually starts from 5-7 crores kind of in Mumbai.
Yes.
Yes. I see this market has exploded actually. People, because of the fact that their incomes have gone up, or their savings or their stock market earnings have literally given them a good purse, this market has exploded. We see a discerning buyer out here, and we see someone who is well educated, or rather understands what exactly it is that he's looking for, and is ready to make, put his money down for the product that he is looking at. Locations become very, very important for this buyer. You have to be in a particular location. The other thing that's worked for us is creating the right community for this kind of a buyer. So when we do a high-end project, we try to avoid making all kinds of flats, trying to say that this will sell on a lower floor, this is required on a higher floor. What we realized is that you need to create that right gentry for that person. Third is, these people are looking for zero hassles, if that is possible. So they're looking for long-term maintenance of their homes. They don't want to kind of be worried about the facility management services, back end, etc., etc. So they're paying a price. They want to live the life. And I see if we developers, like Pradeep ji said, he wants to go deeper into his market. If we just go deeper into our own types of products that we are doing, and let more and more specialization come in, like Anuj said, someone is a land banker, someone is a developer, someone is taking care of sales and after sales. The market size can continuously be worked on, massaged, increased, and given more and more dimensions, or given more and more color. We at Rustomji are doing that at all points of time. Our study continues. We work with the customers who bought with us, and always try to figure out what's worked and what's not. And the best thing that I have realized is everybody is interested in a green home, and they're ready to pay for it. And they're all looking for smart homes or smart gadget enabled homes. It's a huge shift. I mean, for someone like us, it's a huge learning curve that we are seeing, and we're working more and more with technology companies to make our homes that much more future ready.
Very interesting. We need to do a full discussion on this entire smart and sustainable homes, right? What do they really mean? What is the buyer willing to pay for, and how much? But that's for another day. I'm leaving you with that thought, Anuj. But very quickly, and this is a last question for you, Anuj. And I know Baman will add to it. Other developers are also free to add to it. I'm just looking at the inventory overhang numbers that have come out from the ANAROCK report, and then looking at the fact that it's still at 36 months. It's not like, we are at a very low inventory level. Healthy levels are 18 to 24 months. And the second aspect of it is that you're now seeing new launches coming up again. So I know that it's a cyclical sector, but do you think that we could have a glut sooner than later? I mean, in 2.5 years, we might have a situation again of too much inventory coming into the market, or you don't foresee that?
So Manisha, I'm actually worried that we will have much lesser inventory in the market.
Okay.
And my worry is that the inventory is not coming quick enough. We've got perhaps 12 or even less than 12 months inventory now left as the overhang across India. In some micro markets, the demand has already exceeded the supply. My trouble is that, Manisha, if the launches don't come in, the prices will start to run up very quickly. So, it is paramount for the launches to come in. It's paramount for the supply to come in. It's paramount what Burman referred to, that the advantage developers have taken in MMR on the premium reduction, that inventory to quickly start to come into the market. Otherwise, you will see the demand will overtake the supply and the prices will start to run up, which is not a healthy situation to be in. So I would really want that there has to be more inventory that comes out into the market, more supply, because we're starting to we're on a sort of delicate balance at this moment in time.
We don't want to go the US way. We definitely don't want to. I mean, terrible situation that there are no homes and people want to buy them. Prices are up 35%. It's crazy. That market's gone nuts. So yes, so all of you, please have a long pipeline of launches coming for the home buyer, because I'm always on the side of the home buyer.
We all should be. We all should always be.
So are you now, all of you. So all the good branded developers, but it's 16:45. Unless anybody has another point to make, please raise your hands. I'd love to hear from you, but I'll leave it yes, go ahead, Pradeep.
So I think so, जैसा बमन ने भी कहा, बिल्कुल इस वक्त जो कस्टमर है वो राइट साइज, राइट प्राइस और टाइमली डिलीवरी के ऊपर ही बिलीव कर रहा है. और आई थिंक सो जो भी डेवलपर्स हैं, अगर वो इस मेथोलॉजी पे काम कर रहे हैं, तो ये जो टाइम है ये उन डेवलपर्स के लिए मल्टी फोल्ड करने वाला है. तो आई थिंक सो वरी, यानी मुझे नहीं लगता ऐसी कोई वरी है, क्योंकि आज क्या होता है, जरा सा ग्रोथ करने लगते हैं तो लगता है कि पता नहीं क्या हो जाएगा. आई डोंट थिंक सो. अभी मार्केट जो है वो जस्ट अभी स्टार्ट हुआ है. आने वाला जो टाइम है वो इससे भी ज्यादा आपको ग्रोथ वाला दिखेगा. इट्स माय व्यू.
Good luck, guys.
All right. Yeah. Good luck to everybody. Anuj, last word over to you. Thank you for this opportunity to moderate a panel. Far more relaxed. I'm not looking at the time ticking on the NDTV show and saying, I have to wrap out and let's hurry up. So wonderful having this.
Yeah, I was only going to say is thank you, Manisha. Your introduction said is that your career, which has spanned over 20 plus years. I was thinking Manisha is 20 only.
Anuj, I just told you I've been married for 28.
No, thank you very much, Manisha. What a delight. And thank you to everyone who's joined in. Murli, thanks. And all the very best as you continue to grow your company. Pradeep ji, good luck for the next few quarters. Baman, similar good luck to you. I may have answered Manisha's question. And Venki, see you soon.
Thank you. Thank you, Manisha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot to all the panelists for sharing their very informative thoughts with regards to the new and the next for the real estate segment.